I have found an absolutely adorable and wholesome manga series I want to take some time out of my day to really just talk about and shout out, because it needs to have more people to kind of dive in and read this series, because it's, in my opinion, underrated. And I think that if this ever gets a anime adaptation, I really do think that it'll be an absolutely fantastic anime adaptation. So let's just dive right into it. What is Chieri's Love is 8 Meters actually about? Well, it's about a girl that is 8 meters tall, basically, picture Attack on Titan, like, Eren or something, a tall individual, but without the violence, so to speak, and all that. But pretty much, Chieri is 8 meters tall, and she's a normal high school girl that was normal at one point, but got turned to be 8 meters tall somehow. And basically, she is in love with her childhood friend that she grew up with, and her childhood friend is now basically her helper, so to speak. Like, he's making sure that she stays out of trouble, making sure any needs that she needs is met, so to speak, and obviously, it's a very interesting relationship between the two characters. And when you first think of the overall premise of this girl being like 8 meters tall, and you think of him, obviously people are instantly going to kind of think, okay, so there's going to be a lot of fan service in this series. That is actually the shocking part. No, there is not a lot of fan service within this manga whatsoever. There is some, obviously, but there isn't a lot to the point to where it's like that's all it's about. It actually is a very comfy and fluffy manga series that really dives into just these two characters and how they're just going about their days, interacting with each other, and how they're slowly falling in love with each other. And I think that is just absolutely adorable and cute, and let's just get into it. So basically, Chieri as a character, she is our main female character. She is someone that obviously takes every day by stride. She doesn't let her overall limitations now in society kind of push her down, because you gotta imagine someone that is, let's say, 8 meters tall, they're not going to be able to properly walk into buildings anymore. They're not going to be able to eat proper sized food portions anymore. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to add a lot of headaches, so to speak, to your daily life. And you got to imagine dealing with that on a day-by-day basis is going to be absolutely horrendous. And so Chieri being able to keep a bubbly smile on her face, act like everything is okay, so to speak, definitely shows how strong-willed she is, and that she is definitely someone that is inspiring to a degree, because she's not letting something like, her being too tall stop her from going about her daily life and just having a happy life at that. While you have someone that is her, childhood friend, Yumeji, that is someone that, despite his childhood friend now being 8 meters tall, he doesn't really see her as anyone different. For instance, he still enjoys her company, he obviously has a crush on her, and it's very clear that, he wants to make sure she's very happy as well. And so you have a very positive relationship between these two characters. There's no toxicity, so to speak, between the two characters, and I think that is nice. So far from the series that I have read, there's 18 chapters out currently, and the series is, from what I assume, a bi-weekly release. For instance, every 2 weeks a new chapter comes out. Basically, it's very nice. Like, it's drama-free, so to speak. Now, I do think eventually drama will play a portion to this story, and I think that direction of drama might be a little bit more unique than the normal, say, slice-of-life romance setting, and let me explain. Basically, when you think about, like, normal high school romance slice of life series, like a good example of this, let's just think of something recently. Let's think of like Nagatoro. It's currently airing this season, and that's something that people like or dislike regardless. But there is usually in these type of stories, either rom-coms or just a standard slice of life, you have these tropes, you have these cliches that are used, and it's just a typical thing that always happens, like a school festival, or you happen to cram for a test or whatever. It's the typical formula, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like because of the premise kind of being already different, thanks to the character being 8 meters tall, all these different things that she normally would have to do is going to be already radically different. She is going to have to deal with so much more on the side that, normally you wouldn't see within, let's say, these different arcs in other manga series. So it automatically spices things up. Now, I do want to talk about something else. Currently, there is, like I said, no drama, and there isn't any bullying yet. And that is what also surprised me about this series, because you'd think a character that I guess is 8 meters tall, and obviously she's just different from everyone, you think that she would be made fun of, bullied, etc. And I guess the reason why nobody's really going to bully someone that's 8 meters tall, she'll just tossed him, literally through a building or something. So when you really think about it like that, I guess it kind of makes sense, but it does not change the fact, though, that the fact that we haven't really had bully themes even for the main male character, like he's not getting bullied or nothing like this, there's no drama, there's no other, like, love interest thrown into the mix to really spice up the plot. I do think that the series has a lot of positives going for it. It's a very strong series so far, and it's very clear, at least with the current chapters of, let's say, the manga, it is trying to give more characterization and development to Chieri. We get to see her family introduced. She has her sister, that is someone that, is obviously very caring and loving and loves her a lot, and even despite, obviously, her being a lot more taller now, the size difference, it's clear that her family still loves her just the same, and it's a very adorable exchange as well between the family members around chapter 17 and 18, and I think that also shows a very positive aspect to the story, because usually, once again, in these type of stories, you might have something toxic come up to where maybe one of the family members are just very awful or mean, etc. But that's actually not the case. Like, it could have easily have had it to where, like, the sister came into the picture and she caused drama to where you could no longer be around, Yumeji, her childhood friend or whatever. You gotta be like this or so-and-so. It didn't go down that direction. And once again, positives for the series, kind of avoiding these little hurdles or pitfalls that normal manga usually wind up in. Now, another thing I do want to shout out as well is that so far with the story, it could have went down the easy route of, let's say, making this a battle manga. And what I mean by that is basically, it could have it to where, like, oh, it's going to be kaijus versus each other. Like, she's going to be fighting monsters and protecting Japan. That is not what this story is. And that's another thing I really appreciate about this, because that was such a low-hanging fruit plot point that could go down, like, with this story, but it didn't do that. For instance, we don't have kaijus, we don't have, like, these creatures coming in and attacking Japan or whatever. Literally, it's just a romance slice of life, and I'm like, yo, that's great. I'm glad. We don't need action for this story, and we get these nice little different themes on the side. So yeah, I mean, overall, Chieri's love is 8 meters is definitely something that I've had my eye on since it started, and seeing how it's progressed, seeing how we're 18 chapters deep, the first volume's out, apparently the first volume is selling very well, I have a feeling that this series will stick around for a good long while, and if it continues to be successful, I hope that one day it gets an anime, because this is straight up, this is one of my favorite, let's say, romance currently, that's new romance, so to speak, that I have been reading, and once again, I wanted to kind of, shed some light to it, because I think that this series is definitely underrated, and more people should really dive into it, because if you like romance, you like slice of life, and let's say you like tall girls, you're gonna enjoy this, you legitimately will. So let's spice one thing up, okay? So, people are probably wondering, so how is the fan service? Well, there is a brief little scene, which is absolutely hilarious, where, like, they're running in the rain. Like, you see, like, Chieri, she's running, and she has, like, the main male character on her shoulder, and she's trying to stop rain from getting on him. And after all this is said and done, and, she gets soaking wet, and obviously he's kind of fine, she sits him down, he says a comment that kind of irritates her, and so she literally scrunches up her clothes, basically, and lets the water kind of drain out of it on top of his head, and I'm like, this is absolutely hilarious, and it's like some spicy content of it, and it's tasteful, it's legitimately tasteful, and I really do like just the premise. I don't know, it's nice, it's very different, it's very nice, it feels like it's trying to separate itself, but not so much to the point where it's alien, and it still feels relatable and / down to earth, because obviously it's not like yokai battles, etc. That's not what's going on. Another thing as well I do want to tackle on to this series is another direction it could have went to, is that the organization or the department that is helping her out and allowing her to live her day-by-day life, they could have easily turned out to be evil, or, malicious, or controlling, etc., but that hasn't happened yet, either. In fact, everything that we have seen up to this very point in the story of 18 chapters, they've been very supportive, they have allowed her free access to roam or do what she wants, and to hang out, etc. She doesn't appear to really be monitored whatsoever. She legitimately seems to have a very pleasant life, and I think that is also very nice, that we're also not going for that other low-hanging fruit that because she's different, she's going to be used as a science experiment or something. So, Once again, another shout out to Chieri's Love is 8 meters for trying to circumvent around these normal pitfalls. But okay, I guess I'll leave it at that. I wanted to talk about the series. I know that not everybody might care for this manga, but I wanted to give some attention to it. So with that, thank you so much. If you enjoyed this video and I gave you any form of entertainment, and this was a recommendation that you like, do leave me a like on the video. It does help me out a lot, and I would greatly appreciate it if you subscribed as well. And with that, Chibi out.